In the previous video, we had studied about significant figures and how can we count the number of significant figures and what are the rules that we follow to count the number of significant figures. If you haven't checked it out, do check it out. In this video, we are going to be talking about addition and subtraction, multiplication and division of significant figures. So we are going to be starting with addition and subtraction. So when addition or subtraction is done, the final result should have the same number of decimal places as that of the term having the least number of decimal places. So to understand this rule better, again we are going to be doing calculations and then figuring out the rule. Okay, so here let's take the example of addition. 12.11 has to be added with 18.0 and 1.012. Now I have to add all these three numbers, but the first one has only 2 decimal places. The second value has only 1 decimal place, and the third value has 3 decimal places. So with respect to our rule, which states that the final result should have the same number of decimal places as that of the term having the least number, would mean that this term, that is, so our decimal places in the answer is supposed to be 1. That doesn't mean I will be removing this value, this value and this value while adding. We will first add, and that will give us 2, 1 and 31. Okay, based on our rule, our solution should have only 1 decimal point, which means the answer to this is 31.1. The same rule is applicable for subtraction as well. So let's take 25.4630 and 24.21. So this has 1, 2, 3 and 4 decimal places, whereas this number has only 2 decimal places. So we'll first calculate, and the answer is 3052.1. So our answer is 1.2530, but because you have the number of decimal points as 2, you will instead write it as 1.25. okay. Now for multiplication, and division, the answer is reported up to the same number of significant figures with the term with the least number of significant figures. So 5.1028 into 1.30. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 significant figures, and this has 1, 2, 3 significant figures. Here we talked about decimal points. Okay, we did not speak about significant figures at all. Here we are specifically mentioning that the solution should have the same number of significant figures as the term which has the least number of significant figures. So here you have 1.30 has only 3 significant figures. So when you multiply these two values, you get 6.63364. But because you only have to have 3 significant figures in the solution, the answer is 6.63. Similarly, for division, 5.2765 divided by 1.25. So here this number has 3 significant figures, 1, 2 and 3. Whereas this number has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 significant figures. And the answer when I divide these two values is 4.2212. But because this has only 3 significant figures and I'm supposed to consider the least number of significant figures, here the answer is given as 4.22. Okay, so this covers the addition, subtraction, multiplication and division of significant figures. Now, if you notice that we had to remove a certain digits, okay, while we had to round it off to a previous number. So, there are certain rules and regulations that are followed when we need to round these numbers off. So, these are called as rules of rounding off, whatever. Sorry, rules of rounding off. Okay, so there are 3 rules in essential. Okay, let's start with the first one. Rules of rounding off. Okay, so there are 3 rules and they're very simple. Now, if the first one is the rightmost digit is to be removed is more than 5, then the preceding number is increased by 5. Now, let's take the example 1.386. Okay, and I want to remove this number. It is higher than 5. So, this digit, when it is removed, this value is added plus 1. So, when we round off, it becomes 1.39. However, if I had it as 1.382, this value is less than 5. So, this will just be removed and there will be no change. So, 1.38. And that is our second rule. So, when it is more than 5, plus 1 is added, and when it is less than 5, there is no change and it stays the same. Now, if you have the rightmost digit as equal to 5, okay, so let's assume 6.35. Okay, now if okay, and 6.25. Okay, I will tell you what is done and then you will understand. We have to remove this 5. In 6.35's case, we will be changing it to 6.4, but in 6.25 case, we will change it as 6.2. This shows that if the 5 has to be removed and we are removing and the preceding, we are noticing the preceding number is odd, then there is plus 1 added. But if it is an even number, there is not going to be a change with respect to its value. Okay, so basically the first rule, the rightmost digit is more than 5, the previous digit is added plus 1 is added to it. If it's not more than 5, it's less than 5, then there's no change. If it's equal to 5 and there's an odd number in the previous digit, then there is a plus 1 done. And if it's not equal to an odd number, or rather if there is no odd number over here, then it stays the same. So these are the rules which are used for rounding off significant figures. So the next topic we will be studying about is dimensional analysis, and there are two, it's basically to do with how we convert certain units by a method, and do check it out.